And also implementation of the climate change and community in informal settlements, adaptation and innovation. So you can not only listen the lecturing from Pak Rukuh, but also you can discuss with him. Yeah, I think it's enough, yeah, Pak Rukuh. Do you want any CV or it is enough? Yeah. Okay, it's.
Well, thank you very much, Bu Wati, for your generous introductions. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you here again. As introduced by Bu Wati, my name is Rukuh. You can call me Rukuh, and I'm happy because it is the last lecture. Yeah, it means that you already have a lot of foundation about theory from previous lecture from Pak Asok and Bu Priam. I think it's make it easy for me, I think. And then I believe that this topic is also not new for you. Maybe every one of you already hear about climate change. Yeah. And maybe to somehow know about what is climate change. Yeah. Okay. I think it's important topic because climate change affects everyone, including those that living in a urban informal settlement. And then I will make a presentation here, but please feel free if you have any questions, just ask along my presentation. So no need to wait until at the end. So we have more discussion is good for me, I think, and for you as well, because I believe that you have a lot of burden with your project right now, instead of listening this presentation only. Okay. Well. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can we make it this? Okay, thank you, Mira. Well, I believe that some of you maybe it's not from a planning discipline or maybe not from a science discipline. So maybe I would like to start with a very brief overview about climate change. I'm curious, where are you coming from before you in a planning school? Hendrik, your background, I mean? Okay, geographical science, what? Oh, environmental science, yeah. So I think it's familiar for you. And how about Kara? Your, sorry. Oh, Kara. Raki. Almost similar.
I studied business administration.
Okay, business administration.
Yeah. So very different, but yeah, I'm interested because I can relate, like in business administration, I used to see from the business perspective, and here I'm trying to look from the public perspective.
Okay.
So this is very much, I can relate. So.
Okay. And I knew that Reza is architects, your background. And then Kara, what is your background before you doing your master degree in planning?
I got my my past degree in environmental science.
Environmental science, so it's almost similar with Henrik. And Arjuna?
I studied philosophy.
Oh, philosophy. Yeah. Wow. Cover everything. Yeah. Interesting. And how about you?
Yeah, my bachelor's was in economics.
Economics.
Yeah, but I took like 2 years course in urban and regional planning under economics.
Yeah, economics. Okay. And I knew the rest is from urban planning. Okay, so yeah. Well, so it's okay, I think, for me to talk a little bit about climate change. because we from different backgrounds. So okay, maybe I need to. Ini bisa nih. Oh, harus keras ya. Oh, yang tengah mas. Oke, oke. Okay, I need to press a little bit harder. Okay, well, what is climate change? I think some of you already know about this. We can see climate change from both physical conceptions or social conception, but what we would like to discuss today is more the physical one, okay? So climate change is a globally functioning system, holistic system. So it's mean that it's applied to the all of our planet. And it is the totality of atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, geosphere, and their interaction. It's mean that everything that's on the top of our planet, substance in our planet influence climate change, as well as all the water, the surface of water in our planet, including biosphere such as living things, animals, forests, and then everything that under the earth, and they are interact together and create what we call as a climate right now. And we understand climate after conducted a very long period time of observations, at least 30 years, or better is 50 years, 100 years. So that is the climate change, climate. And it is different with weather, because weather is changed quickly. Maybe today is cloudy, but later in the evening, maybe could be raining or could be hot or something like that. So it's different with the weather. Climate is different with weather because it involves a long period of observation. And if we talk about climate change, actually we talk about the changes of the surface temperatures of our planet Earth for a long period of time. So if we talk about climate change, we talk about the past, the present, and the future. Okay. That is very short about climate change. And then the next slide is about the sources of climate change. I think you already know about that, although you came from business, maybe, or maybe from architecture. Do you want to try? What is the causes of climate change? Causes of climate change. Oh, population. Okay, population. And then how about from philosophical point of view? Arjun. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. Okay, from human activity, yeah? From human activity. I think population, that's right. It's also human, yeah? Make activity. And the activity create what we know as a greenhouse gas emission. Yeah, right. Greenhouse gas emission have a different types. For example, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous dioxide, and etc. And carbon dioxide is one of the biggest composition of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. And then it comes from different activities, either in rural or in urban. But mostly sources of the climate change is greenhouse gas emission, I mean, is from the urban side. Yeah. Transportation and construction and then from land conversion, energy generations, and etc. Also, farming is also contributing to greenhouse gas emission. And what the most important about that is the characteristic of greenhouse gases itself. It can stay in our atmosphere for a long period of time. Maybe you can see here that some gases, such as carbon dioxide or CO2, is almost 100 years will be stay in the atmosphere before it break down by the environment. And some others is even longer, such as nitrous oxide. So the last time we release the release greenhouse gases, it will be there. We will inherit our greenhouse gases to our kids or our grandchildren. Okay, and then that is make this issue important and complicated, because our lifetime, greenhouse gas lifetime is much longer than our lifetime, mostly in average. Now this is the phenomenon what we call as a greenhouse effect, because the gases is from greenhouse, the sources is greenhouse gases, and this is the process of greenhouse gas effect. This is, I think, from your Vice President presentation slide, not from me. You know, Vice President Al Gore, who campaigned about climate change actions several decades ago. And then basically, our sun give energy to the earth through what you call it is like radiation, solar radiations, and then some of them will be collected by planet Earth with the process of, we call it as albedo. Different surfaces of the Earth will reflect, have different reflecting capacity. For example, ice will be different with a forest or with the desert, for example. And then it's different between grass and the surface of the road, for example. And then some of them will be released back to the space, and some of them will be reflected back to our planet Earth, that make our planet Earth will have a adequate or warming, but it is suitable for our life. It's good for our life, because without greenhouse gas effect, planet Earth will be freezing, and the temperature will be minus 18 degree in overall. But with that kind of process, we can live properly in this planet Earth, on the top of the planet. However, along with the more and more concentration of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, more and more infrared that will be held by our atmosphere. As a result, the temperatures of our planet is increasing. Yeah. And then I think you know about this. It's evidence that climate change is taking place. This is from a very long period of data. I think it's more than 100 years data. And that data is compared with an average from the beginning and at the end. They took the average and then they compared the average with the actual temperature data in the since 1901 to 2018. And if the data is lower than the average, they give color blue, and then if it is hotter, they will give colors red. And you can see here that in average, in overall, during this period of time, more and more red color appears, it means that in overall, the average of temperature is increased during these periods. Although even it is in America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Pacific as well. And if we can see here that it started in mostly in Europe, yeah, and then earlier it's in Europe. You can see here, yeah. However, yeah, that is the evidence, and with the same process, it's also the same method. We can see also the changes of temperatures in a local level. For example, this is in Java Island, where you study location around here. This show the projection of average temperature change from 2032 to 2040 against 2006 to 2014. And you can see here that the area in the northern coast of Java, there is an increase in temperature in overall. Well, on the right side is the projection of seasonal rainfall change during 2032 to 2040, and you can see here that the northern part of Java will be drier in the future. So the issue is about less rain in the future. Although in the southern part of the Java, there will increasing rainfall, will be increasing rainfall over there. Okay. Now I would like to move to the driver of climate change risk. So it is not only about the temperature change and precipitation, but also about sea level rise and extreme weather. As you can see while you are visiting the case study location, you see the phenomena of sea level rise and extreme weather sometimes, but we cannot observe during our visit. And then you can see here, if we talk about climate change, these are four main drivers. The first one is the temperature change, and then precipitations, either increase or decrease in terms of precipitations, sea level rise, and extreme weather. So that is what we call it in the context of climate change, that risk, that driver as a risk. Yeah, the driver is as a risk. This four driver as a risk. They also can be, I mean that the driver of climate change can be seen as a hazard in the context of climate change. The probability of occurrence for a given threat. Okay. And then the hazard create risk. The hazard create risk. How severe that hazard? We call it as a risk. How severe that hazard? It used to be we calculate the risk is by multiplying the intensity of the hazards and the expected loss of the hazard. So we can make like a matrix. When the intensity of the hazard is high, and then the expected loss is also high, so it must be very severe risk, very high risk. But if the intensity of the hazard is low and the expected loss is also low, so it's a low risk. So that is the idea of the risk. And then in the concept of climate change, other than hazard and risk, we also talk about vulnerability. Okay. No problems if your region has a very high risk, but there is no vulnerability over there. So it's fine. But it will be serious if you have a very high risk, but at the same time, you also has a high vulnerability. Vulnerability is the function of exposures, sensitivity, exposure and sensitivity, and sometimes divided by adaptive capacity, or sometimes is minus with adaptive capacity, depend on the concept. Okay, and vulnerability consists of exposure. Exposure is element at risk. Element at risk, for example, people, animal, ecosystem, they have a different exposure. Yeah, for example, very dense settlements has a higher exposure. For example, if there is a risk in that location in comparison to other settlement that has a very low density, for example. So it is the concept of exposure. And sensitivity is the degree to which a system is affected. So different settlement, for example, they have different sensitivity. Yeah, because system that attach to that settlement. For example, in one settlement, they have permanent structure, which is quite strong, while the other settlement, they have semi-permanent or maybe a non-permanent structure, which is quite prone and fragile in the case of, for example, floods or high precipitation. So that is the concept of sensitivity. So there is exposure and sensitivity. And if it is divided or minus with adaptive capacity, it will be a vulnerability. It will become a vulnerability. And adaptive capacity attached to the actor or agents in a particular location. For example, in these settlements, in one settlement, they consist of many poor, but the other settlement has many that rich. They can afford any kind of activity to make them not get more exposure and sensitivity. So basically that is attached to the actors or agent is as adaptive capacity. Yeah, could be education, could be access to a finance. Yeah, it is a symbol of the adaptive capacity. So it is the basic, and you can imagine in your study location, what sort of vulnerability they have, what exposure they got, and then the sensitivity of the area. Yeah. Okay. And then climate change will create a ripple effect. It means that there will be a series of consequences from the increasing of temperatures at the beginning, and then sea level rise, and then melting glaciers, and then there is a series of events. And if you look at the latest 6th assessment report of the IPCC, they already create a system to understand the mechanism of climate change impacts, which is from they categorize into 4 categories: from single event, compound event, cascading, and systemic event. Single event means that it's direct impact. Direct impact. For example, heat stress that then lead to a health issue. So it's a direct impact. For example, high precipitation and then leads to flood. Okay, that is a single event. Sometimes it is compound. Compound, it's mean that one event in combination with the other event, and then that creates a more severe impact. For example, there is flood, but at the same time, in the area that flooded or inundated, they have say unprotected school. So it will be a compound impact from flood and education. There will be shutdown for education. Kid cannot go to school because of the floods. Is compound event. Another example is flood and unprotected wells, for example. So well, you have floods and then your well is contaminated. You don't have any other water sources. So it's a compound effect. And then cascading, it means that almost similar to compound event, but the damage in one place or system will reduce resilience and generate impact elsewhere in other location. For example, floods, and then the flood makes the power plants dysfunction, and then the power plants will impact to the user, for example, businesses, and then the businesses will not operate. So there is a cascading. So it's involves more than 3, I think. And then the last one is systemic events. If all the system collapse and even influence the other system. So it's different types of climate change impact and the mechanism according to the IPCC. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure that if you see in your case study location, you can imagine what kind of sequence impact that happen in your case study. For example, here, some picture that I get from the city of Pekalongan. It is 80 kilometers in the west of Semarang. Many area that is penetrated by seawater. So the seawater penetrate the inlands in the Pekalongan city. Many of these areas previously is rice field, and then because it cannot be used anymore as rice field, sometimes become a swamp, and then sometimes they use it as a aquaculture. But then the level of the water, the depth is increasing, and becomes sea, and they cannot do anything. And then, for example, here in the city of Semarang, the water level elevations in this river is much higher than the water level in this surrounding settlement. So they need pumping system to put the water out this area. It is example of the impact of climate change to the city and urban context. Now, we would like to move further with the context of informal settlement. I think Pak Asok and Bu Priam, I think, already give you concept about informality, yeah. And then I think it's helped you to understand that informality is sometimes something that's complex. Is not only in terms of physical but also in terms of social. Okay, I have this one. Yeah. Okay. This one. Which ones? Oh. Yang sorot. Oh. Sorry. Mana sudah ada pas? Okay, I think doesn't appear here the red signal. Oh, it's too bright, I think. The screen too bright. Yeah. You can see here that these two row is the characteristic of informality or informal settlements. Yeah, in terms of physical features and then also social features. I'm not sure that this red arrow will be fit together and create the impact, but basically it's crossing with a random direction. They interact one another. For example, you can imagine because of the driver of temperatures, and at the same times in an informal settlement, most of the people work in the informal sector. They are working in outdoor, I mean in outdoor. And then they have a house which is very dense. For example, if you visit one kampung in the city, Bustaman, for example, you can see it's very dense. Even a single house can be filled by 7 families, the most extreme one. Right? So they has a high density, overcrowded, poor ventilation. They pack one another. So you can imagine when there is a temperatures, so that settlement, that kampung experience heat stress than the other kampung that is have more of, say, formal features. Increased heat exposure to informal worker that working out, on the streets, in the outdoor. And then and you can see that also they have a lack of access to social security, the people over there, although the government give, say, support to them for education, health services, but it's very limited. And some of them, especially that is not really have a citizen in the city, they cannot access that services. Good, maybe they migrant from the other city, the other part of the city. So they lack access to social security and healthcare system. And at the same time, at the physical aspect, they lack of pipe water, inadequate provision of sanitations, and drainage as well. Sometimes is improper, and sometimes they are located on dangerous site. So if this combined with the increase or decreased precipitation, you can imagine there will be flood because the lack of drainage. There is a water contaminations. There is a health issues that will appear in that kind of situation, in that kind of area. And then the increasing sea level rise. And many area urban informal settlement located in the coast, because the coast is quite close to the city level, quite close to the market, quite close to the port. There are many businesses that can be opportunity, that can be used by the people over there. So they prefer to stay in the coast because there are many businesses over there. But at the same time, there's a land subsidence. Sometimes they don't have legal ownership over the land. Sometimes the lands belong to, for example, railway company. They build along the railways. Sometimes they build on the lands belong to the port authority. So they don't have a certificate. With that one, they cannot sell the land. They cannot use to get as a collateral to get fund if they need something. So they are basically don't have any don't have any privilege. And then because they are live in illegal situation, the government unwilling to work with them, because if government work with them, it will break the rules, and maybe it could be categorized as corruption because they use the public funds not on the right right way to support this kind of activity. So with this increased sea level rise, the area will be experience serious, for example, could be stagnant water in that area. And then there's a breeding ground for mosquito or any other factors of disease, such as malaria and dengue that we common here. And then also the house is also has poor quality house structure. So when the increase of severe weather, extreme weather, they will be wiped out easily, the area. So that is the connections why climate change does matter for urban informal settlements. There's a complicated issues around that one. And in overall, there will be decrease in productivity, loss, and damage, and then there is a poverty at the end. So like a circle. Okay. Bu Wakida asked me to talk about innovation, how to connect the idea of climate change adaptation with innovation, and I'm confused with that, so I put it question mark. Yeah. Climate change adaptation or innovation. So yeah, that's why I try to configure the idea of climate change adaptation. I think we have several terms. For example, we know about response, climate change response. If we talk about climate change response, it's something big. It could be adaptation and mitigation. Okay, but then some of the response is adaptation. And not all adaptation is a transformative one, the transformative one. Not all adaptation is the transformative. Some of adaptation is business as usual. It's mean that basically it's just development. It's not adaptation. Okay. Now, because adaptation is multi-interpreted as a word, as a terms. But the literature said that the best one, the emerging concept is the transformative adaptation. And then there is also request to understand innovative adaptation. Yeah. So it's getting more smaller. But when we look at the literature, we need to criticize this kind of questions with the idea of innovation itself. What is innovation? Yeah. Innovation cannot be created by anyone but humans. So the human factor is the primary sources of innovation, yeah, right? Only human that can make innovation, I think. And then innovation is associated with new knowledge, which is the result of integration of implicit knowledge, which is maybe is not clear that is a knowledge, and accumulated existing rational explicit knowledge. So I think people in the informal settlement may possess implicit knowledge. We call it as traditional wisdom, or how they adapt or respond with their situation. They are human factor. So particular condition either limit or force them to create or implement new knowledge with their own situation. According to Simon Kuznets, innovation is the fruit of scientific and inventive minds. Okay. Yes, and while human factor is the important one, human factor is more internal aspect. For innovation to take place is also important of the external factors. And there is a question, is climate change is a trigger for innovation? Yeah. I think the answer may be yes, but I think it's not just as simple, because if we see that innovation is only not about climate change, because innovation is also a social, technical, and economic process. Yeah, it's not as simple because of climate change. There is other factor that influence the innovation. Yeah. In which the use of idea in practice contribute to the creation of more advanced product and technologies, bring hope of solving social challenges. And I think innovation is not only about the product and technology. Innovation could be in terms of process. If you can deliver better process, I think it's also innovation. For example, I think it is not clear cut. Sometimes it mix between motivation or causes of innovation and innovation on the process. For example, if you find situation that limit people to access, for example, a financial institution, and you open that kind of opportunity, I think it's also innovation in terms of process. If there is unfair competition that make the marginalized society cannot have a better opportunity, and then you try to fix that one, it's also innovation in terms of the process side, not only about product and technology. It means that you can deliver new way of a system. So it's about process as well. Innovation could be a process as well. However, everyone I think agree that innovation involves risk. Innovation is associated to uncertainties. Yeah. And then I think it's a sophisticated notion, innovation itself, if you would like to use in the context of adaptation. In my opinion, how adaptation idea make difference to community, I think is as important as innovation itself. No matter the solution, as long as it make difference to the community, I think it's useful. and as important as innovation itself. So that is about innovation. And so I prefer to use the concept of transformative, because transformation is quite, innovation is quite fluid. How we determine that it is innovative or not, it's a debate in itself. Recently, I think we agree that transformative adaptation is maybe it's also innovative. But if we say transformative, I think it's quite safe for us, and it's not make a confusion. Because many adaptation plans focus narrowly on climate risk reduction, improve existing infrastructure, adds on to business as usual urban development plan, because many community urge for this kind of business as usual. Many community looking for instant result rather than searching for the true adaptation, that transformative. So many adaptation missing opportunities to advance co-benefits of climate mitigation and sustainable development. Forget to address compounding inequality and reducing well-being. So transformative adaptation means activity that address barrier to adaptation, solving issues that hinder adaptation. Yeah, it could be people-centric planning. I think Pak Aso already gives you a lot of about people-centric planning, and Bu Priya, it is one of key element of transformative adaptation. And then addressing inequality is also categorized as a transformative adaptation. Produce behavior and lifestyle change that's more environmentally friendly and more climate responsive is transformative one. Ensure integrity of urban and regional ecosystem. Yeah. Are you asking something? You asking? Yes, please. Yes, I think it's like a trajectory. Adaptation, you can claim everything is adaptation. Yes, I'm adapting right now. But many of adaptation activity is not real adaptation. It's just say business as usual, or just short-term cure of the big problem that make people cannot really adapt. For example, addressing poverty is transformative, because if some people still in poverty, I think they have a low adaptive capacity. So it's like a trajectory. It's good have adaptation rather than has nothing to do. But if we can rewind our adaptation and addressing a very big fundamentals aspect, which is like this, with a deep and long-term systemic change, it is what we call as transformative adaptation. Okay. And what actually there is a book which is very interesting as well, called they literally use adaptive innovation. Okay, but again, when I read the inside of the book, basically it's also refer to the same one, transformative adaptation, but just they have different name. The characteristic of adaptive innovation is people-centered process, has premise on the core of value of justice, care, and solidarity, because it comes from a social work practice. And then basically the same. Put people in the center of the process is the key idea of the adaptive innovation. Okay. Now, yes, adaptation in informal settlement is urgent. According to the latest IPCC report, the greatest gain in well-being in urban area can be achieved by prioritizing investment to reduce climate risk, follow income, and marginalized residents, and targeting informal settlements. Yeah, it means that if you address the issue in a informal settlement, you address the right part of the community, the vulnerable one. But if you target the rich area, there is no problem. It means that you miss your target. Yeah. So this is the adaptation in informal settlement is urgent. Although there are some facts about that you can see on the right side here. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to read all of them, make you boring, I think, and too long. Yeah, so I will move to the next slide, which is sorry, with my handwriting, which is maybe not clear for you. So I would like to break down every component here one by one to elaborate what is transformative adaptations. How to read this one? I think start from here. Yeah, because transformative is people-centered. It starts with the ideations and then decision. I think you already know that we have to give the local community, the vulnerable one, to make their own decision. And then the golden rule is don't start from the big one, start from the little one. It means that if you have a great solution, yes, okay, but you need to testing before you implement overall. So you need to piloting. And then the key of transformative one is learning. And the key of innovation is something new. You can make something new if you learning. So with this piloting, you can make a learning and improve your ideation. Okay. And then at this stage, ideation could be, there are many information in the book. If you think about the geographical area, maybe in the coastal setting. In the coastal setting, there are some strategies that maybe inspire your ideation. You can protect, you can accommodate, you can retreat, or you can float. Okay, I will discuss later, but please.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Is there any significance to accommodate and retreat being like inside of the square and not a part of the square, or is that just lack of space?
Oh, this one, where it's not the same with this one.
Or because protect and float are like flowing, and then there's like two notches up into
Oh,
accommodate.
okay,
and
yeah,
retreat.
yeah.
Is
yeah.
that just lack of space?
I think this is one
Yeah.
package.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
maybe the wrong is with this line, but it's one package to I think we can experience different contexts. Some context, maybe there is a area which is a strong characteristic, geographical characteristic such as coast, and there are many literatures that you can implement different strategy. So I think this can be flexible. You can add more concept if you would like to add more if you know as a source of ideation. But other than coastal setting, maybe that will be generic in other places. We can think about the sectors or aspect, problems, and that innovation could be made over there, can be made over there, such as in terms of waste. You can see a lot of problem waste in your case study. Sanitation, water, flood, drought, maybe health, shelter, heat, because of related to climate change. So this is a source of ideations in terms of geographical or in terms of sectors or problem. And then I think people in informal settlement cannot solve their own problem. They need support from the authority, the government, and other higher level of government to support them. So this, if they have make decision, okay, I would like to make one of this that's suitable for my area, suitable for our lifestyle and behaviors or our problems. They make decision is nothing if there is no enabling system and support. So this must be support with financing, alternative financing, creative financing, regulation, and technical assistance to somehow, so they can implement their decision. Without this one, so nothing. Then if you learn, implement and get something important, I think we need the idea of knowledge management to put it back here in the whole idea of innovation that can be used for ideation, bigger and bigger ideation. And then if it is confirmed right, so you can make a upscaling, scaling with the support and then back again to the system. And the most important is that people-centered, because this is the transformative adaptation instead of a technical adaptation. So it is just an idea, big idea, to make them easy for you, I think, hopefully, to understand the whole system. And then I would like to break down quickly one by one every bubble over there. So the first one is about coastal setting, about geographical aspect, which is specific in coastal. Okay, maybe I'm not sure that you have heard about this one, sea cities. Basically, this is an idea to see, to combine urban elements, which is 5: building, you need place to live; production, you need to produce something for your living; there is agent, community, infrastructure to support your activity; and environment, which is the foundation of everything. So this is the urban element. And then in the coastal zone, which is a very specific, this idea must be combined with a new perception to see sea or ocean as challenges, but also as potential. Not only as challenges, but also potential. And then we call it this as a CCTs, which is a concept that view both sea and cities in balanced manner. There are two different space dimensions that need to be integrated. We look at with the same priority. Maybe at the moment, we give priority to the land and forget about the sea. The sea as just as a problem and challenges, not really as a potential in urban planning. And this paradigm would like to improve or to correct or to try to give alternative to look at that kind of relation, which is emphasized then as the result is a range of tactics to acknowledge the relationship between sea and the cities. Because the warmings in the bottom of the ocean will take place not only in decades or 100 years, but will be happen in the millenniums. So sea level rise would be something that will be happen in the long term. And then it's also critical the possibility of integrating future aquatic-based urbanisms to address climate change, and in particular, the issue of rising sea level, which is currently faced by the majority of coastal cities in the world. When we combine these 5 elements and think about 4 strategies, so we can come with 20 tactics. See, because this is building, space, production, community, infrastructure, and environment. But not but. Meanwhile, in the literature, we understand that there is idea to protect, to accommodate, to retreat. Mostly just these 3. Even in IPCC report, they not yet acknowledge the 4th one, advance above the water. So we have 20 tactics actually. If we combine this one, 5 elements times multiplied by 4 strategies. So we have 20 tactics. Okay. The idea that we need to select this tactic that is suitable for our project, for our location. How to assess is a challenge. Yeah, but this is the idea, the ideation concept. Okay, we look one by one. I think many examples can be found in our surrounding. For example, the first tactic is to protect. There are several. For example, this one is the most common strategy to deal with the sea level rise or flooding, as we call it as a business as usual strategy to deal with climate change is using infrastructure. And then you place the infrastructure with different way. For example, it's good idea using a multifunctional coastal dike to protect sea level rise, abrasion, but at the same time, it's also provide a public recreation area for the citizen. Yeah, it is in the city of Pekalongan. And then this another example using this protection strategy in Marunda, Jakarta. You can see that the level of the sea is much higher in the roof of the many settlement over there. It's a protecting. And then this is in Pluit, Jakarta, part of the Great Garuda, I think, part of them. Jakarta project to defense from the sea. Now many pumping houses in the city to get rid the water out back to the ocean. So this is the example that we against the nature. This is very good because without this, maybe Jakarta will be submerged at the moment. But at the same time, also there are some critics that this is not suitable for the long run because there is a land sinking at the same time. And then it's also the practice. For example, there are many garbage that maybe block the pumping system, and there is high sedimentation, and it's also depend on the hinterland of Jakarta. If they keep sending the trash from up, there maybe it's also not efficient, and it's using a lot of local government resources to operate all of them. Okay, and need a very disciplined because maybe they need to continuously increase the dike level. Okay, this is one example. This is another example that you can see from Sayong. This is from the Sayong. Accommodate living. I mean, living with the water. Living with the water. Okay. They try to accommodate the water with a new standard. They developed state house. It was on the land, but now they are built their house on the water. They accommodate the water. They make adaptation with the water. But maybe they produce thing over here. We cannot see that there is a community, and you can get many examples from the other function over there, but this is one of them. Okay. And then release, let the water in and relocate is another strategy. Especially this is for building. One of them, some people will be relocated because the area is used for dike, and then they have to go back. They have to go to the public vertical housing, which is good. Public vertical housing provide them a new place that free of flood at the beginning, but mostly then after the several years, the building becomes like a vertical slum because maybe it is not really well maintained. There is no involvement of the community. Feel of ownership to that building maybe is very low because they are not really integrated in the process. And yeah, because of many reasons, I think that is the release and relocate. It's not only for building, also for place of production, community activities, infrastructure, and natural environment. And advance, it's mean that, so I put visionary and imaginative design, which is required in the IPCC report. IPCC report suggests that we need to have a visionary and imaginative design. Maybe this is one of them. Try to develop above the water so it can adjust with the sea level rise. For example, floating community in Netherlands and in Semarang, there is an initiative as well to develop a library, local library in the neighborhood, which is also function as a community gathering developed by central government. So this is in terms of building or space, and this is in Netherlands, and then this is in terms of communities activity, like community service, not community service, yeah, recreation for public uses. I mean, communities for public uses. Everyone can use it as well. And then this is the idea of, maybe you haven't see about this, for Bijak Ingel Groups, one of big architect company in Sweden. that proposed the idea to UN Habitat to solve the issue of sea level rise in a small island, small island countries that are a threat by sea level rise. So this is one of the idea. Yes, we cannot see many here at the moment. Now, even the tactic is grow. The recent publications look at another opportunity, more crazy. I'm not sure that this is innovative, especially in terms of solve the issue of low income settlement, informal settlement, which is most of them is have a low income. How the issue of affordability, except this tactic can be delivered in affordable way, affordable manner, this will be solved. There will be a problem solving for that one. Floating, it's mean, and then a dive and stand on the bottom. It's like what the movie cartoon SpongeBob. So it's and this is for 5. So we have another 3 times 5 multiplied by 5. So we have 35 tactics in total as source of ideation. Although, yeah, it is maybe and I try to make a study how people in Jakarta respond to that kind of idea. Do they want to live in a floating house? Yeah, surprisingly, not many oppose the idea, but much people happy with the infrastructure one. So they're happy with the Grid Garuda, most of them, but they're not opposed the idea of living in a floating house. Yeah. Okay, now this is from the coastal side. Maybe I can too long, yeah. Now, in terms of sector based or problem based, waste, water, and then floods, there are also some innovation. I will quickly describe about this, and I think you're already familiar with this one. For example, to addressing floods, there is a nature-based solution. We restore the ecological features in the city so they can function, and then they give a service back to the citizen. One of the most famous is the initiative in China. Many cities in China, is not only 130 and is counting, the implement Spawn City, which basically they try to deal with the flood using nature-based solution like this. And so this area can absorb the water quickly, and they will function as a public recreation area during the normal day, but during the storm, they will function as a barrier and protection for the city. Okay, I will not go for long this one. And then this is also the same example in Jakarta. For example, in 2000 and before 2012, this area is full of slum. In around this lake, slum was mushrooming, and then they don't get a service, public service like a waste and everything, water, and then most of which went to this lake. Okay, and the function of the lake to absorb the water during the high precipitation is limited, and as a result, flooding occurred in Jakarta. But then, since then, they try to revitalize that swamp again, and then try to make them has a ecological function as it was to be. as it was. And then and the community around this area is relocated to the new vertical public housing, especially those who has a clear ownership to the land. For those that don't have ownership to the land, they have to looking for their own way to living. Yeah. Some community refuse to be relocated. Some agreed to be evicted because they don't have a title on the lands. Today, there is no longer issue with the restoration, and then you can see here now it's become a public space that everyone can enjoy that public park and lead to more active citizen, place for exercise and everything. And then so strengthen climate change adaptation, for example, in flood response, yes, to function back to protect the city from the flood, and then also create co-benefits. Yeah, co-benefits. So like side benefits from that kind of activity, we call it as co-benefits. And then in addressing urban heat, I think any greenery programs will be useful, a better standard of housing. Yeah, for example, maybe we need to new standard for our vertical public housing, which is too small, too too narrow, yeah, for people to live, and then maybe the design need to be improved. So it's about change our perspective. As long as we this is enough, maybe there will be no improvement. We have to say that this is not enough. We need a new standard, a better public housing, for example, a better standard for housing. So it would be great. But the problem is that in Indonesia or in developing countries, we can build by our own. We do not need to get approval from, say, city government. So we can build, although it is important, but not all will get permission to build, especially the informal ones. Okay. Then this is how to deal with the heat, for example, using shading in the alley of the settlement, for example, is one of idea. And then maybe the barren lands, we can optimize the barren land for greenery program. Is also maybe it's common, but maybe could be some become an innovation as well in dealing with the heat. And then if you want to see more, you can access this book freely, give you more information and idea about it. And then in addressing drought and water, I do believe that you haven't heard about rainwater harvesting. Yeah, rainwater harvesting. Basically, this is consists of three concepts. You catch the water, you need catchment, and then conveyor, like a gutter, for example, like this conveyor, and then you need collection. Depend on different size that you need. It is for single family or multiple family or for public. So I think it's depend. And if you try to look at to this website, you can have different type of rainwater harvesting models. It's very, very, very good publication, very clear. You can look at it. And then addressing sanitation, for example, floating toilet is maybe yes, is not in Sayung. I cannot see floating toilet, although they have still houses over there, but I cannot see where is the vessel of the family goes. I think directly to the body of the water, and it will be a very serious environmental issue. But this technology will solve it. Yeah, using tanks that designed to be transportable. They made of fiber reinforced plastic, can withstand with a long exposure to seawater. With that capacity, it's said that serve a family of 5 and discharge treated wastewater in the ocean after 7-hour treatment time. So it's better than nothing. Although maybe there is a bacteria still coming out, but there is a process of filter before go out to the ocean, to the body of the water. And the same we found in Cambodia as well, with different system, and especially this one, this using wetland. This is a wetland work. So they combine this floating toilet and then with like a container with a aerobic bacteria, and then it's adding with some what it is like plants over there to make further filtration to make the water that released to the ocean is clean. So this is one of idea that we haven't seen in the case study location, especially those in Sayong, I think. And then addressing solid waste, bank sampah or waste bank. This is waste bank, yeah. People collect the waste here, like a waste bank. No, yeah, the idea of waste bank, involving the public community participation to sorting the waste and then try to recycle and sell of them. It maybe is one of solution as well. So it's institution. It's like institution. So innovation is not only in the product and technology, but also in the institution. How we do, how we deliver something. Well, this is more about building. If you want to look at it in general, so some idea to make adaptation, and then it's also like a summary about everything that cover. If you do adaptation, sometimes you also contribute to mitigation as well. So it's not only sometimes you do adaptation and then give benefit to mitigation. Yeah. In terms of a building, yeah, you can see here. Although the challenges is that you deal with the informal settlement, which the affordability is an issue. Yeah, so it's a barrier to adaptation. I think it's a pro-poor, pro-informal settlement is needed because most of them, they are lack of financial resources. So need to be, say like a commitment from the government to alleviate the informal, to alleviate the poverty and declining in informal settlement. And then lack of human resource capacity, political commitment which is low sometimes, uncertainty about the future impact and dynamic interaction, Sometimes there is issue with the institutional fragmentation and unclear responsibility, and then competition of adaptation with other policy agenda, because there are many issues in the city, not only about climate change, lack of data, knowledge, and etc. So this is some barrier to adaptation. Yeah. And sometimes because people still don't believe about climate change, people in the government or maybe ourselves, it's not real. Yeah, maybe there is disagreement. We can see this some that used to be as a reason for disagreement, but actually disagreement is far, far deep down here. How we see about nature. We have different priority about nature. We have different tradition to see, to understand or to agree with the scientific analysis. Maybe we have different tradition to find the truth, although we have a research, but okay, I don't believe with that one. I feel cold here, there's no climate change, for example, like that. So how to perceive, to come to our conclusion may be different. And then has different perception to risk. They have different perception to fear of climate change. No worries. At the end, everyone will die, for example. So they have different perception to risk. Yeah, so maybe this is causes as well why there is a problem and barrier to adaptation. And maybe a low contribution of planning education. I'm not sure. I'm curious. Are you in a University of Hawaii study about climate change, a specific topic about climate change? Classes. Okay, that's great. It is in a one semester or only part of the subject? Okay, so it's okay. So massive, yeah. That's great. But here is not many people talk about climate change, and especially in planning school. I make a survey in 2010. The first time I looking for in Indonesia, how many planning school? There are 39 planning school study program from 29 university, and now the number of planning school grew to 79 study program from 63 university. And in 2010, so about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, only 15 that can I access the website. The other I cannot access because they don't have website at that time. And then there is no planning school that delivers climate change related curricula at that time. But now in 2021, I make another survey from 55 and then 55 available website, only 23% of the planning school have literally include climate change. And then maybe 24% maybe, because maybe it's mentioned in different types of curriculum such as disaster risk management. Okay, so yeah, and the rest, almost half don't have without climate change curricula. So maybe we need to give more exposure to planners so they're more aware about climate change and more understand about climate change and would like to involve climate change as a variables in planning, especially for low income settlement and for informal settlement. And this is some conclusion that I think I will not read it. Yeah, basically, climate change make everything getting more complicated, and climate change impacted informal settlement and dwellers seriously. And then physical and social features of informal settlement intensify the risk of climate change. Without climate change, they already have a problem. And then if we add climate change as another variable, the problem is getting higher. So I think that's all from me. Sorry to take it for long. Okay, okay, please. Here in the city of Semarang. Yeah, in Semarang. Yeah, in the city of Semarang, the first thing that the government do is making a vulnerability assessment. With that vulnerability assessment, is I think it's about 2 or 3 years ago. They will find villages that is with have a high risk and high vulnerability. That will be their priority. And then and the problem is that I think you can correct me. Yeah, maybe you can add. The problem is in the planning side. I think there is not much initiative to bring the project at the local level. Most of the project is at the big scale, at the city level, and then leave the community to survive by themselves, not give power to, or to facilitate community to participate in solving their own problem. So in my observation is like that. However, there is also program from the national level. We call it Proklim, Program Kampung Iklim. So like climate kampung program. Yeah. The program is to give acknowledgement to the village with the incentive if they can show a good performance in terms of climate change initiative. So basically, it's like a competition among villages. If you have, for example, Bank Sampah or Waste Bank, you have, say, such as to convert from or you have a mangrove, for example, you propose that one, you submit it, the village will submit it, and then if they are win, they get appreciation from the national government. So that's to encourage participation. And the number of villages that participate is also increasing, and the target is until this year the target is about, if I'm not mistaken, 20,000 villages will already participate in that kind of activity. So yeah, it's interesting questions. Which one? I think at the local level, it's challenging because our planning system is from bottom up. We have a annual public gathering at the village level or sub-district level. and then propose propose project or programs to the district, and then from district they will bring to the city government, and from the top down there is also program that have to be conducted by city government. So, and then they try to combine, and some proposal and some idea from the ground sometimes missing after the process, and came up with another program. So although we have a very good and say appropriate participatory process, but sometimes people hopeless. Okay, I went for several times discussion, proposed program, but there is no result. Another program coming up. So it's just there's a mix between top down and bottom up that apply in Indonesia at the moment. And considering, oh, this is because of high vulnerability, it's sometimes that information cannot arrive to the community. It's only belong to the government, and sometimes government maybe doesn't really consider about that. Doesn't really consider about that. Yeah. Okay. Energy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes, yes. That's great. For energy, I think I haven't covered that one, because I think in a informal settlement, they not use a lot of energy. Yeah, but the city of Semarang has a project to convert waste into energy. They started several years ago, and now it's underway, the process. As also there's attention as well, because if we use that technology, they will take a lot of garbage to fit into the plant, and then maybe it will conflict with the pemulung. What is pemulung? Pemulung is that informal worker that pick up this garbage. What is you go around to get garbage, plastic, and maybe there will be a conflict with that. And then the investment is also expensive. There was support from Danida. If you use the Danida technology, it's expensive, and then we have the city government have to give a tipping that will give a burden to the city government budget for that kind. And the electricity itself, we already have surplus energy at the moment, because central government massively promotes coal-based power plant at the moment, and then we still have a lot of energy. So if we have waste to energy, the energy is not really useful, because we cannot keep the energy in battery. It will be lost. So there's a lot of expenditure and burden for city government, but the benefit maybe is not yet. It's not yet clear. Although we also experience problem, because the final waste disposal is almost full. It's almost full. Yeah. So they are confusing now, but I think they will solve the problem. Okay. Yes, the energy. Yes, energy is not really covered in this topic, because I think about informal settlement. they share a little energy, I think, in comparison to the other segment of community. Okay. Any further discussion? Eleven o'clock. So I finished earlier, yeah? Right? I finished earlier, supposed to be 12. Okay. If there is no more questions, okay, I will close this presentation. Thank you very much for your attentions and your patience, especially. And then please, you can go back with your team to continue maybe some job that you have to do. Thank you. I give it back to Pak Yudi. Finish, Pak Yudi.
Thank you, Pak Rukuh, for the sharing session. So we still have a lot of time, yeah, before lunch, because the lecturer only Pak Rukuh. So in the afternoon, you will do some studio again. But yeah, Bu Wati said to me that the progress of your studio should be on analysis and do some strategy. Yeah, so you can use SWOT analysis for analyze your problem. You have arranged your potential and problem, yeah, in yesterday. So you can use it, or you can use a problem tree method, yeah, causal effect and so on, or you can mix it, and according to the analysis, SWOT analysis or problem tree, you can arrange your strategy to overcome the problem. Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, perhaps in the Bustaman, yeah, you find the potential and problem, yeah, problem. So you can mapping what is in the strength, what is the weaknesses, what is the threat, and what is the opportunity, and you can arrange your strategy to overcome the problem in the Kampung Bustaman, perhaps something like this. Yeah. So do the sayung and tambak rejo, yeah, tambak rejo, or urban farming. Yeah. So I think you can take a break and you can continue until lunch to continue your studio. So in the lunch, you can be coordinated with the Anggun, and I think tomorrow you still working to formulate the strategy. Yeah, if you can analyze in the afternoon, I think tomorrow you will can continue with the strategy, and in the afternoon tomorrow you can present and communicate each other. Yeah, and in the Friday we will closing ceremony. Yeah, but in the Thursday afternoon or evening we have a farewell party. So we will go to another. All of you will separated and go to another to continue your life. Perhaps something. Yeah, it's a short time. Yeah. Okay. Anyone can comment or question? If not, you can continue. Yeah. So you can enjoy your meal and you can continue the analysis and the strategy. Okay, have a nice class and nice meal. Thank you, Pak Rukuh.